Today we're finally going to be installing a part that I have had sitting in my apartment for the past 6 months. Now this, when it comes down to value for horsepower, is going to give you the best bang for your buck. Now with the K&N intake coming in at roughly half the value of its competition and providing you with the same performance, it's a pretty damn good value on the market. It's something that I would probably suggest you pick up. Whoa, wait a minute. Before you go telling them that that's the best value intake on the market, you're forgetting one very important thing. This intake is actually made by GM Performance and it comes with a warranty. So yes, you might be paying for double the price, but it's backed by GM and you're not going to have to worry about any engine claims if you go ahead and install this through a dealer. Again, both of these are roughly rated at 20 to 30 horsepower gain, but again, we're going to put them in the car and go for a drive and see if there's any difference. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to recommend to you guys exactly which one I'm going to run in the car going forward, and we'll take it from there. If you're only interested in hearing the sound test and the driving portion, skip to this point right here, and we're going to go ahead and test these side by side. So the install for both of these intakes is nearly identical. Two important things to call out here before you guys tackle this at home is that GM suggests that you actually disconnect the negative terminal on your battery, as well as make sure that you do not disconnect the MAF sensor while doing this install. Because if you do, the engine could end up throwing some codes. Just slide the MAP sensor out of your intake and install it in the new one and you guys will be good to go. So let's cut to some clips of the intakes in the car so you can decide which one looks better and then jump into the driving review of each of these intakes. So I'm sure this is the part that some of you guys have really been waiting for, and it's the comparison between the two intakes. I think when it comes down to appearance alone, it's very subjective. It really depends on whether you like a closed box setup or do you like the look of it being a bit more aggressive and being open. What I'm interested to find out is whether or not there's any significant sound difference between the two intakes. Obviously, with the K&N box being open, it could lead to the sound actually coming through quite a bit more. We actually have two mics set up right now. We have a mic here on our DSLR. We also have this mic set up that I often use for all of my exhaust footage. So we're doing absolutely everything we can to try to capture the sound differences between these two intakes, if there is any at all. So other than sound improvements, I'm really hoping that we notice a difference in throttle response and some power gain. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out for a small drive, hit a small little back road, and then jump on the highway and see if there's any noticeable difference. So let's go ahead and hit the road and find out for ourselves. So right now we're driving around with the GM Performance intake, and I can tell you right away the throttle response is definitely pretty different. You can hear it A1 on downshifts and rev matching, but you could feel it right when you hit the gas. I mean, right out of the box, I am very surprised that an intake's able to really change the feel of the car this much. Again, is it giving you a ton of horsepower? No, it's not, but it's definitely making the car feel more responsive, and that's exactly why I sound as excited as I am. I really wasn't expecting this at all. If you guys have already installed an intake, I'd be very curious if you guys have the very same reaction as I'm having right now. It's kind of crazy considering that it's $200 or $400 depending on which one you go with. It's just wild the amount of power and the response that I'm getting for the money. I haven't felt that on any other part that we've installed in this car so far. So we're going to slow down, we're going to roll into this one and punch it and see what happens. It definitely feels different. The response is so much sooner. Now, as far as horsepower goes, it still feels like the same Camaro SS. It still feels generally like 450 horsepower, so there's nothing major there. But the one thing to really note is the throttle response has definitely changed. Now we are coming up on a bridge. Let's see if we can hear anything different under here. So we just got our K&N intake installed. I had a blast driving around with the GM1. Now there is a very slight whistle with the GM1 and I actually kind of like it. So there is a little bit of sound difference. I don't know if it's going to be picked up on the camera or not, but the throttle response is the main difference in that intake. I was smiling absolutely ear to ear when it came to hitting the gas and jumping on the highway. So right now we're going to try to figure out if there's any difference in that throttle response when it comes to the K&N intake, and I'm really interested to see, since it's an open box, whether or not a ton of that sound is going to pour straight into the cabin. So round two with the K&N intake, let's see how it sounds. 3, 2, 1, go! What I can say is that the pull felt generally the same as the GM intake. So if you're looking just to match performance and match throttle response, the K&N's going to be the better value by far. Now this is definitely going to be pretty hard to explain, but I'm going to do the best I can. Both of them have a pretty faint induction sound. While the GM Performance one sounds a little bit like a whine, the K&N intake sounds a little bit more like a whoosh. I know that sounds silly. Both are pretty faint. They're not extremely noticeable, but you're definitely getting a little bit more sound out of the K&N, and I'm really going to be surprised if either one of these microphones is able to pick it up. So let's go ahead, let's get to the final thoughts on which one I'm going to go with in the future, so you guys can go ahead and try to figure out what you want to do at home. So in the end, the decision is going to be up to you. Do you want an intake where you're going to be able to keep your warranty and it's going to be a little bit better built, but it's going to be higher priced? Or are you more on the value end where you're going to be paying a whole lot less for the same amount of performance? And obviously behind us, we did choose the GM Performance intake. Again, I am stoked how this whole project turned out. Both are actually pretty damn good values in their own right. So let me know in the comments down below which one you guys are gonna choose. And if this did help you, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.